Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday evening. It is time once again for us to talk anime and all good things. Like that there-ish. So, good to see y'all.
Hello
Likewise.
again.
Yeah. We're talking about Summer Wars here in just a moment. Just wanted to say hi to everyone in the chat. Hey, Ginger.
Yay!
Hey, John Reiher. Different John. Lots of folks in the chat today because Summer Wars is quite a film. Let's just jump right into it. Why not? I mean, let's just do the thing.
Do the thing. Do the thing.
Let's get to the wars that happened in the summer.
Yes. So Summer Wars is Mamoru Hosoda's fourth film, technically. He did two of the Digimon movies. And if you've seen one of them, you'll recognize it here, as this is almost a remake of that film. And then he made The Girl Who Lived Through Time, his first kind of non-franchise film, which we will probably get to one of these weeks because that's a fun experience. And that was one that kind of surprised everyone. It's like, oh, he can do like a whole self-contained 90-minute movie, and this is entertaining and it's fun and so forth. Whereas Summer Wars, I think, really upped the bar to a great extent for Hosoda. And so this is Summer Wars.
Well, it's almost a 2-hour extravaganza.
Yeah.
It's like
it is long.
It was not what I expected at all.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And so let's talk about how it starts, because that's one of the things I always find kind of interesting about these things. Because it starts with an explanation of the digital world that is central to the story.
Well, when I first started it, I was like, oh, it's an ad, and I actually fast forward about a minute, and I was just like, oh no, this is part of the movie. Okay, sorry.
Steve just shaves off time. I don't have time. Don't 2 hours to watch this.
7 minutes gone.
Well, that's one of the things is I'm not, I think a lot of scriptwriters would advise against something like this, where instead of jumping into the action, instead of getting the audience into it very quickly, we start with this several minute long thing that's basically like an ad for definitely not Facebook, which is this sort of ubiquitous digital world.
The Land of Oz.
Land of Oz.
Yeah.
Which I had a difficult time when I first watched it because I was always thinking of Gundam Wing. Oz is one of the major factions in Gundam Wing, so they're constantly talking about, Oz is about to attack. And I'm like, wait, what? And no, not that Oz.
No.
Well, it turns out that's kind of
Things happen. And part of it, too, I think, also is there's an element of explaining kind of to the audience what a digital environment is and kind of what the stakes are. The idea that this is not just some site out there somewhere.
Right.
That this is an interconnected service. Which is why I love all the marketing speak of many major corporations have outposts here, and you can do all your banking and all your shopping. Isn't it wonderful?
Isn't it wonderful?
Government
Nothing
agencies
bad will
have
here.
desks available for services rendered. Yeah, I'm like, okay. And
So,
it's very interesting. It's 2004, I think this film is.
yeah.
And people have their usual Japanese flip phones.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the appearance of smartphones.
They are.
Mhm.
Yep.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the few and far between that had any kind of smartphone technology in 2004.
Yeah.
So when I was watching this, some of the first once I realized it was not an ad, and I was
Steve's
watching.
trying to sign up. Oh, I like this.
Oh, I want this. I want where? So as I was watching it and how the structure of it, the face and then the kind of the angel thing on the top of that, I really got an Evangelion kind of a little bit of a vibe by that, and I felt that, and as it was going through the marketplace and it was going through all the functions, hey, you can do this, that, and the other thing. It reminded me, I don't know how many of you all have seen this movie, but Hackers back in 1994, 95.
Ooh.
where they kind of just show you what they think is the representation of the digital world. And and that they don't do the explanation like this. They just kind of just show you like when people are and throughout the entire movie here, it really did remind me of Hackers, because whenever they decide to go into the virtual world in Hackers, it's this total different vision that's happening there. So that it's kind of like interpreted. So as you're watching these things happen in the movie in Summer Wars, it's like, okay, everything's freeform moving, but is that really interpretation? Because I love how it goes from that to the people on the actual phones where their character avatars really do look like 6-bit, 8-bit figures, or like but they're fluid in this not imaginary, but what people might think is going on in the land of Oz.
It's something anime has always been very good at, is providing sort of visual representations of things that aren't exactly that thing, but saying, here's an easy way of wrapping your head around this thing.
Right.
Lane famously has The Wired, where that's not how it actually is, but totally.
I can't imagine the type of organizing that space to look like it does, to do the things that it does, would probably cause people's heads to explode trying to program it. I'm imagining.
Well,
which Brent, you could speak to that.
It's one of the fascinating things about it. One of the things they did that's really smart is how clean it is. They didn't try to do, and again, in all of these live action movies, they always do the giant spread of all of the 3D buildings that you're sort of flying through and all that kind of stuff and all that detail. Whereas this is much cleaner, which means it's easier to render. So it's not trying to do all that kind of stuff. And so you can actually get more detail, you get more bits, flying around, because they're each just a little, purple cube or whatever.
Right.
Which I think was very
well,
clever.
like when they were talking about sports.
Yeah.
There was not some kind of crazy amalgam of sports things in a space. It was a distinctly rendered platform that had that sport, and they were layered in distinct form.
Yeah.
So it's I imagine that probably was, it was probably, I'm guessing, easier to do it that way than to have some kind of giant, flat scape and then all that stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
It was beautifully done, though.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can copy, they built one stadium, duplicated it, rounded the corners of that one, duplicated that, and so it's just doing that thing, tweak the colors.
Copy paste, copy paste, copy paste.
And thank you, Ginger. You're right. The movie was released in 2009. I just checked. I was thinking 2004.
Oh, I was thinking 2004 too.
Yeah, for some reason. So yeah, about 12 years old, still. And so
still good technology for 12 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also for again, this is not a big budget Hollywood movie, right? They don't have massive resources to throw at this.
Oh yeah, August 1st, 2009.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
And then you kind of start intercutting between the digital world and the real world, and you get this very anime, shot of a girl on a bicycle, racing along. You're like, oh right, that's what this movie is. It's not going to look like that the entire time.
If only she had a piece of toast in her mouth.
Yes,
I would have totally done it.
I was waiting for that. I'll be honest. And then Natsuki bangs open this door, and again, I love the detail here. And Steve, you mentioned Evangelion, and one of the things Evangelion does so well is all of those sort of details of the environment, of post-it notes on things and so forth. And this very much has that feel. I like, for example, that the sign on the door has been renamed 3 times. Once it was this room, now it's this, now it's that. Just very, very tough. And it tells you a lot, right? These are not people going to some elite high school. These are very sort of middle class, average kind of people. And you get your characters, and you get your first kind of hint of what's going on here, where you get Natsuki asking them for this favor. And
hi.
And I love how you then realize much later on that it's what you think is going on in this scene is not quite what's going on in this scene.
Yeah.
And she comes across as kind of the cute girl who just wants some help, and there's more to it than that. Our hero here is being played a little bit.
Just a little.
But I like the way that they worked the overall plot. to make this pivot point an absolutely random thing.
Yes.
Because it's two people, one question, 50-50 chance.
Yep.
And it's like, so it's not, immediately come in and be like, hey, I need you to do this thing. And it's like, yes, I understand it's a script. It's nothing chance about it. But it's nice that it's played in a fashion that they address later on, being like, wow, if I hadn't said yes, who knows what would have happened.
In fact, they say later on the phone that they played, I think, rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
It would go. So, yeah, totally. And the fact that, again, you don't know anything about your hero yet. Right. He's just being pulled along on this thing where
except for their junior administrators on like a ginormous global platform. Like, how do these high school kids get this thing?
That's one thing I really like. Is that is very realistic. Is that you need tons of moderators on a platform like this. So you hire tons and tons of people part time to do little bits and pieces here and there. And everyone has, their little slice of it that they're doing. And, they're probably checking logs for, the backgammon games all day, just to make sure that nothing weird is going, whatever.
Okay. To make sure that the chat is staying in the community standards. Throw that phrase out.
Exactly. And then you get an action scene with King Cosmo. And this lovingly animated action scene, including a fight with a giant lobster for no reason.
I think it's a mechano lobster, because when it cracks the shell, isn't it all like mechanical inside too?
I think so. But it's pretty awesome. And then again, you kind of cut to just them meeting up, and again in a very normal place, just a train station. And this gets to why I think Summer Wars is really kind of a masterclass in pacing and in tone, because the pace changes so much in this movie, but it never feels out of place.
Right.
It can be fast, it can be slow, all sorts of stuff, and we're intercutting between all this stuff, and it's all going to come together at some point, but it hasn't yet. And again,
it is very nice for a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
That even in the moments where it's not blinding action going on, you're getting so much parts of stuff starting to fall into orbit to each other that you're like, okay, I understand what's happening. But you're not bored by it.
Right.
It's not one where it's like, okay, they're not doing anything. I'm just going to pause it and go get something to drink, and I'll come back. It's like it keeps you engaged enough in the way that it sort of trickles along with some of the action preface before it happens.
This is one of the things I noticed this time around is, she has all this stuff with her. And that is the audience's hint that, they're going to see a bunch of people. These are all gifts, which I hadn't connected the first time. Like, why is she bringing all these toys along with her? She's like
the obligation gifts.
Right. It's the obligation gifts. Like, oh, gotcha.
Omiyage?
Omiyage. And you get the Dr. Pepper right there. Whatever.
Dr. Pepper, Dell, Mazda,
and the tea. That green tea is very much a
the
brand.
Ulcha green tea. Yes, it is.
Yep.
So it's like they went out, they got sponsorship. Good on
Absolutely. them. And then again, you have this long scene of just the two of them on the train, separated, talking back and forth, as you get the hint as to why Kenji is a little unusual in many senses.
So I'm not gonna lie. At one point, when he was on the train trying to describe his life, I was just like, "Is he on the spectrum?"
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
He's just nervous.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an aspect of that to him. He's definitely, he definitely has difficulty like presenting, calmly to other people.
Right.
I'd probably call it, strong introversion, maybe. I don't know. But I also like little things like he's constantly glancing around in this scene, because like he doesn't want to look at her, but he doesn't want to look at his food. It's just kind of that constant glancing around that you do when you're just nervous and you don't know where to land your eyes.
Right.
You
don't want to stare at anybody else either.
Exactly.
Like, so what do you do with yourself?
Just that very naturalistic thing. And then you start seeing, and this is where in the movie the first time I saw it, I was like, oh wow, because they start gathering family.
Yeah.
And it's just more and more family, more and more family. Every scene, there's more of them as they're getting further and further out into the country, into the boondocks.
Every conveyance has more family on it.
Yep.
Like,
and then on a bus.
So when I'm watching those scenes where they start coming together, and I was at first really confused. I was just like, okay, this is her hometown. So who are these people? And at first, you have to kind of think it through, and then like, oh, okay, they're all family. And I'm like going, okay, these must be the sisters, cousins, whatever, and all the little rugrats. And I'm like going, and then there's more. And then you're like, okay, that's all right, a little lost, but okay, that's part of the family. There's more. And then you see this scene, this wonderful scene where they get off the bus and it's just like the street and you see this incline behind them and you're just like going, okay, they're somewhere in some village, whatever. And then the shot pans out after a minute, after you figure out, and he's just like, wait, this is their house, and then you see the house and you're just like going, why is everyone riding a bus?
Yeah.
Yep. And this is something that I did not get.
When you have a giant fortress.
That was the thing I did not realize. Like, I obviously realized, okay, this is an old house. Those are the fortifications of a castle.
Castle, right.
Yep.
Which I just did not connect with the first time around. Obviously, the castle's not there anymore, but yeah, that's where she lives. Like, oh. Well, not lives, but a family, yeah, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things where you're watching, you're like, there's not a single line of dialogue telling you any of that.
Nope.
It just reveals it to you.
But it's done so well, and it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Just watching all these things doing what's going on. It's like that you don't really notice it,
right?
It's like, thank you, I appreciate that, because otherwise I'd be like, and you were talking about details. Mm-hmm. That scene you had of the door frame.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure, but those little symbols, at least I know in the U.S. and like colonial moving forward, you had little symbols on doors that indicated fire protection.
Oh, yeah.
Indicated like the insurance that was held on like whatever the property and like contact information. It's like, so I saw those. I'm like, dang.
That's probably what that is. And again, it's one of those things where if you were Japanese, oh, that's from the 1920s. That's from the 1880s, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cool little details. And then you go into this cavernous house. It just
I love that house. Love it.
Goes on and on. And I love the fact that, again, very, very kind of communicating so much where it's not just a cavernous house, it's a cavernous empty house, right? You don't have furniture everywhere. Like, people aren't using every single one of these rooms. Yeah. It's just a big space.
God, how many tatamis would that be? Holy cow. I mean, just that shot alone, it's like, what? Is that like a 20 tatami 3-part room? I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, Kenji's probably never seen that many tatami mats together in his life.
Yeah.
And then you meet Grandma. And again, just the way this movie, provides things is, okay, it's Grandma. That's fine. And then Kenji comes in, and and Natsuki reveals why he's there. He's my boyfriend, and we're engaged. What?
Yeah.
That for me would have been a moment of, I'm sorry, I have to go to the bathroom right now.
I'm sorry.
Well, I love how he's kind of like, what? Hold on.
Well, and what's great about it, too, in the scene is they keep cutting back and forth between Natsuki and her grandma. And part of his head is always in frame. And he's always reacting delayed to whatever's going on. He says something,
yeah.
Wait, what? Cut. What?
I have expected him to start going, ¿Qué?
Right.
¿Qué?
¿Qué pasa, doctor?
And then you get this shot of her looking at Kenji, which becomes a theme throughout the film. And you don't know it yet, but she gives him this hard look. And once you go through the movie, you realize, oh, this is matriarch of the family stare. Who are you? Do you belong in this family or not yet?
Will you crack under my vicious authoritarian gaze?
Well, up to that point, you have this wonderful. It's like its own little journey as they're going through the house, and they're looking at all the stuff, and you sense history behind it, and of course I did my own little digging after the movie, about the historical stuff about it, and because there's a big sense of history, right?
Definitely.
And then she's saying, just follow my lead, don't worry about my grandma, she's scares everybody, whatever, blah blah blah. And you get to the point where she is the matriarch, and you realize this is an old family, and it's not just an old family as in the South, we've been here for 20 generations. No, this is a family that can, you get the sense that they can find their lineage, and they make that clear later on that they can find their lineage way back, and they are connected.
Yeah.
Way back.
No kidding. And you also get the hint of that in the fact that, what is she wearing, right?
Right.
You never see her in anything other than a kimono.
Yep.
Like that's tradition right there.
Yeah.
And the fact, and it's something that I only noticed now, nothing in her room, or everything in her room is this higher, right? She never has to get up. She always can be, just at her table doing her things.
And if you notice, and as we see later on, in her office space, there's nothing that's like beyond maybe the 1950s.
Yeah, that phone.
Maybe 1940s.
Yeah.
Like there's no desktop, there's no nothing. Everything that occurs within Oz is within her understanding, but not within her experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like, wow. And yet she navigates it.
Yes.
As truly a matriarch. It's like, wow, the Empress Dowager. She sends word.
Yes.
And people get things done. It's like, dang.
Definitely be played by Dame Judi Dench in the live action version.
That could be.
Yeah.
I'd also take Helen Mirren. She did a fantastic job
absolutely,
as the queen. So.
Yes, Helen Mirren will do quite nicely.
Sorry for the sirens. Apparently someone's getting murdered.
It happens.
It's Baltimore.
And then, of course, and again, one of the things I appreciate about the movie is that Natsuki immediately apologizes. She realizes, probably not the best thing in the world to do to a guy. And so, she takes him somewhere. She explains the whole thing. Again, in lots of other anime anime movies, this would have been a thread all the way through where she kind of doesn't say anything about it and what's going on. No. Yeah. She fesses up.
Well, I would think that it would be important to me to know that I was engaged to her, and that
you ask too much, Steve.
I'm just saying. I come from a theater background. I need the backstory.
Yeah,
exactly.
I need the backstory.
Well, I find it also interesting that she apologizes. She bows deeply. She's very regretful. Do you notice that she doesn't give him an out?
No, not at all.
It's like,
not at all.
You're stuck
once
with
this
Sorry.
is done, then we'll say we broke up or something happened. But it's not like, oh, I'm really sorry about this. If you're not cool with it, you could just go ahead and take off, and I'll say like something happened. She's like, sorry about that, and you're stuck with it. Oh.
Yeah.
Boy, she's really. You could tell where the bloodline runs in that family.
Exactly. Yeah. Wikipedia describes her as spirited.
That's a description. Yes.
Accurate word. And then again, folks start showing up, and you start seeing the various members of the family, and we start getting introduced to the baseball game. And again,
the Ueda baseball game.
Yes.
Ooh, go Ueda high.
So those who aren't familiar out there watching, baseball, and particularly high school baseball championships, are a massive deal in Japan. These are things that are legitimately watched by millions and millions of people on TV. It preempts everything else. It's a big deal. And one of their own is the pitcher in the game. So obviously it's a
Is that her son? or like just her family, because she's the only one that's like super jazzed about it.
Yeah, I had to look this up on Wikipedia. It is her son. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed that Wikipedia list because I couldn't keep track. I'm like, I give up.
It's one of the things I like about it. Is that, again, if you walked into a giant family like this who was talking about this, nobody would tell you that, right? Just everybody would be cheering for the guy, and it's like, oh, of course, you know.
Well, it's like the sit down to dinner. That's my uncle. That's my aunt. And those are their 2 kids, and that's the husband of that person. That's the person over there. You got it?
Yeah.
Well, let's
I'm
drink.
just gonna drink.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And there we go. Introducing all of the family members. And again, I love that it's kind of the audience's reaction too of, you don't really expect me to remember all this stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
But you get that.
Yeah, I mean, look at the whole family there. Dude, how the hell can you tell who is anybody? If I was sitting there, I'd be like, mustache dude, lady who's a baseball freak, guy with glasses.
The big guy who yells a lot.
Yeah.
And again, and you get all the different elements of what's going on. And again, I one of the smart things. And then somebody mentions, don't upset grandma. And you see her now at the end of the table, which you hadn't before, because she's just this constant presence. Right? She's always there, but she doesn't make herself known, which is just a wonderful element of the movie.
Well, her force of presence alone.
Yeah.
It's like...
Which she will make even more forceful later in the movie.
Oh, yes, she will. She is spry for a near-on 90-year-old woman.
Absolutely. My gosh. And then you get the speech, and I'm forgetting his name, but again, it doesn't really matter.
Uncle Mustache.
Yeah, Uncle Mustache. I think that's Monske, but I'm not sure. Yeah, that's Monske.
Yeah.
The tanned fish guy.
Yeah.
Who begins to...
That's a good one, too, tanned fish guy.
Who begins to wax rhapsodic about their history and all the different... the battles they were in and so forth, and how they were this...
The battles they lost.
Yeah,
They're all like losing battles.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost this battle, so we moved over here.
Yeah.
Like,
the story.
It's an honorable history, I guess.
And again, it's one of those cool things. Is there are tons of those samurai families, right? Where you just there are those who succeeded and those who didn't, and they're just one of those ones that ended up here. But they've stayed, and then again, time moves along, and Kenji meets Kazuma, right, for the first time. And again, one of those things where you're in a giant house, you're wandering around trying to find the bathroom, and you stumble across another family member, just like in a random room.
Yeah, because Cosmo was not at the dinner scene.
Nope.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, this is super like, wow, is this house big enough to have like a squatter?
Yeah.
Like, who is this person?
Yeah.
Yeah. My reaction would have been like, should you be here?
Yeah.
Like, do you live here? Or did you just show up? Are you part of the house?
Yeah.
Are you a yokai? You're a yokai.
Yeah. And Kenji just kind of showed up too. So.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that the movie just lets it be. Like, just here's a character, just moving on. We'll be back here. And what's smart about it is, in a lot of other movies, if you tried to do this, again, he'd be at the dinner table, he'd be just kind of scattered throughout. But by putting him in this specific room, you remember him. And whenever you see him again, and you see the room again, you're like, oh, it's that kid. And you can kind of connect everything, which is just very smart. And you get the required by law anime nudity, and it's a toddler. That's okay. Running around. Because again, that's very, very much little kids.
Yeah, but I think it's great. It's just like, banks the corner and just goes off. It's like,
he's like, ah!
Okay, like.
And then he goes in, and again, we kind of, we're waiting for the anime bath scene, and nope, not gonna happen. It's just Kenji.
Well, we did get a little bit of soaping,
That's
people
true.
into communal children in the communal bath being washed, but it's like nothing Nothing accidental. Oh, I know. I opened the door. Oh no! Like,
well, that's
thank you. You took the high road on that one.
That's what I really appreciate is that like he looks down, she comes out, she has the towel, and then she like ducks back, and that's all you see.
Yep.
It's like the hint, and then he goes back out, and again pacing in tone, and it's quiet as everybody is looking at this man who is petting the dog.
Wabisuke.
Wabisuke. And I love how, again, everybody is like offended that he's there, but they're not driving him away, but the dog's fine with him.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? And then they all start getting pissed off at him.
Well, you had Glasses Guy. Mm-hmm. There was a moment in there before everything started getting rolling.
Yeah.
And Glasses Guy there with the pink vest was holding the dog's face and going, well, you're getting old, but and it's like, okay. So now you've planted that seed. The dog's old.
Yeah, exactly.
So when Wabisuke shows up, it's like, okay, the dog knows. So he must have known the dog a long time because the dog's old. Yep. Like, okay, but nothing is like concrete about that. You just have to remember back and be like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, this makes some sense.
And the breadcrumbs. I also love the use of color here, where Wabisuke's in the dark.
Yeah.
And on the outside, and very much,
black sheep.
Black sheep. And shot from behind.
Yeah.
You're not seeing his face. You're just seeing everyone react to him as he shows up. And Kenji's not comfortable. Even Grandma's, upset. And then he comes in and sits down and starts having a drink. And then...
Oh, did you notice something specific about that drink, by the way?
What?
At the banquet, when everybody gets introduced, and they're all like, let's drink, everybody pours everybody else's drinks. Wabisuke comes in, sits down, pours his own drink. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, we've got authority on ourselves now, don't we, here?
Yeah.
You're not going to put up with convention. You're not going to put up with tradition. This is it. You're drinking your own beer and doing your own thing. I'm like...
Well, and then they make the statement of, what are you doing here? And he goes, well, I do own the house, don't I?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. And it's got, all the discomfort, all the uncomfortable stuff.
Of Thanksgiving.
They delivered a lot of tension. Like, this is really nicely tense.
Exactly. And then Natsuki shows up and is thrilled.
Yeah.
And I just love that reaction. She's like, oh, good, uncle. And she goes over and completely oblivious to the writhing tension of the scene. Just running over and, oh, great, wonderful. And again, and I love Kenji's reaction where he gets it. He knows there's something going on here.
Right. Everybody's staring daggers is pretty good to figure out there.
She did not read the room very well.
No. She likes to write the room as opposed to read the room.
Yeah, she was reading the room. She wouldn't have drug along this poor schlep. Like, hey, dude, come out to the family house and be
for
uncomfortable.
Like 3 days.
Yeah, like this will be fun for you.
Yeah. And then you get the pointer scene, basically. You always have to have the one scene where you explain everything. And this is, hey, I'm new to the family. What's going on? Let me explain.
Yeah.
But there's also a great opportunity to view the personalities of all the characters, because you have everyone together, and so the grandmother's daughter, she's just very measured about it, where she's like, "This is a thing that happened. It sucks," and then other people are like, "Yeah, I can't believe he did that." And other people are like, "Well, whatever,"
Yeah.
And you just get that feel. And then you get, Wabisuke, Kenji, and Natsuki all playing Koi Koi together.
Yeah.
Which we'll get back to that in a little bit, because that's important. I laughed out loud at Kenji's expression on here, because I've been in this situation, plenty of times, where folks are playing the game, having a good time, and I'm just like, what, and then you...
Yeah, trying to read the rules. I don't understand. Well, it's also a great representation of his personality type.
Yeah.
Because,
Right.
he sees a, number sequence and he starts locking in on it. So he's looking at things, in this sort of solution-based kind of way. So they're playing this game, and it's like, so what do you do if you're a solution-based person? You read the instructions to work the solution. And everybody else is like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, and just very casually playing this game that clearly is the family game.
Yeah.
This is what they all play. I love the line.
I just want to play that game so I can say koi koi.
Right. And we'll get to that.
Sounds good.
I do love the fact later on that when koi koi becomes the whole thing, that somebody at some point makes the line of course this family would bet the fate of the world on koi koi. Because this is what we play all the time.
Yeah. And thank goodness they do.
Exactly. And so that scene just kind of peters out for Kenji. And I do appreciate the sort of conflicting messages there, where Natsuki is now completely ignoring Kenji.
Yeah.
And granted, she kind of has been the whole time anyway, right? Like he's just kind of there. He's done his job.
Right.
But now there's this whole romantic thing where he's like, oh, like should I feel something about this? I don't know. It's a weird situation to be in where I'm like he knows he doesn't really mean anything to Natsuki, but still having the guy in there just kind of hurts a little bit.
Well, when she apologized to him and touched his hands, and he goes like completely beet red, and it's just like, so he's now sort of orbiting. Like I'm kind of interested. I don't, but it's like, he's basically abandoned on this island with all these insane,
it's
and
like,
no real way out.
like he shows up. The poor guy shows up. He's kind of interested in this girl anyway, and he goes and he plays along after the confession, all this stuff, and then Uncle shows up. And she's all over this guy, and suddenly he's just like, scary grandma, family I can't figure out, what the hell is this game? Everyone's drinking. The dog I'm even confused by. I'm just gonna sit over in the corner, okay? Is that all right if I just sit in the corner? I mean, he's just like, for me, this is actually a problem I have with the movie, is that for periodically there were points, not just then, but like later on, in particular in the movie, where he's no longer really part of the movie. He's, to me, his character arc is shunted off.
Yeah.
And he's come back, and at the end of the movie, I feel he's just being brought in for a specific thing to do the code thing, that kind of stuff. And he's really there to start it and to end it.
Yeah. And
then the rest of it kind of falls apart and then becomes about, which is fine, which is about the family and stuff. But I just feel like he kind of got shortchanged because he really is pushed to the background during the movie. So I thought that was kind of for me that was a little bit jarring. I was just like, oh, I thought this movie was about this guy.
Sure.
So it's kind of not.
Yeah. And it's tough in a movie like this where there are so many characters and there is so much to get across, that I can see one, not intentionally, just kind of this character not being part of the plot for a while because there's so many other things to kind of get to. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. He does just kind of fade into the background for a long time.
Well, I think also for a chunk of it, he's playing the part of the sort of the everyman that we would be if we were there.
Yeah,
and
he's
it's
the
like
audience
it's like you're saying, Steve. It's like he is helping you to conduit into this thing, and then once they've got the sort of the motion going, they can say, okay, well now you're fully inserted, so we can move him to the left a little, go over there, and now we're the omnipotent vision of what's going on in this family, and then he'll segue back in when we're ready.
But not before he gets the code and decodes the code. And this is one of the problems I had with the movie initially when this plot point came up. Is this idea that he would solve the code and be the code breaker and be the one to figure all this out. But they did address it later. But yeah, he does sit there and do all this, and then we get this very Miyazaki moment. And I believe this is kind of Hosoda making a statement here, where we have the lovely reflections in the water and the little grasshopper flying. Very Totoro moment. She's kind of saying, I can do that too. I can have these quiet nature moments too. And the flowers.
Well, somebody's doing the beautiful mind thing.
Yeah, exactly. We get to see his scribbled words. This is also clever. Hosoda, I'm sure, knew this would be an international film. Like, it would go outside Japan.
Right.
And so the passwords and so forth are in English, as are most websites, right? Like the default language English and the blog and all that kind of stuff. So I like the fact that when you see like passwords and stuff, you see the Latin characters. And so anyone in the world knows, oh, AE, the number 8, right? And it's just much more universal in that way. Which is kind of smart.
I like his use of uppercase and lowercase letters as well.
Yes, exactly.
It's just like, wow.
Also, something I just noticed is that the email address is LeetSpeak for Love Machine. Applause there.
I love the name of the program.
Love Machine.
Love Machine.
It is. That
You're
is,
like, wow.
and again, that is just such oddball programmer initial names you got to threw together and then just whatever we called it. Okay,
Yeah, Love Machine.
Whatever. Right.
Love Machine.
It's fine.
Well, anytime you watch your like Norton or Symantec cycle through things, it's like the names of some of the viruses that they're checking for are like just like what the hell? And there's somebody named that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sinifu Stealer or something. I'm like, okay, this is obviously on the inside track for all these people.
And then Kenji gets woken up to discover he's a super hacker. Congratulations.
An internationally known super hacker.
I love the two little Detective Conans coming in there and grabbing him, pulling him out.
You're the criminal.
And we find Oz all defaced, and all the problems going on. And again, I appreciate that because we know later on in the movie this gets very serious. But again, it's when somebody breaks in, initially it doesn't seem that bad. It's just what locks can I get into? What things can I change? It's kind of playing around with things, which again is very, very realistic. Whereupon, again, he kind of freaks out. His password doesn't work. He has to beg Ozma for use of his account, and we get the tension start to ratchet back up after that. Those lovely, quiet summer night moments. As you realize something big has happened, and then some idiot cracked this code last night. What dumb person would do that? He's like, I actually did.
Yeah.
That, I'm the idiot. And again, something I noticed this time, Cosmo goes, "Wait, you did that?" And it's just this quick little moment, and you realize, oh, Cosmo, he keyed into that. There's some respect there. So he goes into Oz. We get the whole attempt to fight him, which again does not work.
Because poorly.
Yeah, because poorly. Very poorly. Until King Cosmo shows up. And I do love, and they hired a fight choreographer for this movie. Not a fight. They hired a fight animation director for this movie. Somebody to literally think how these fight sequences should look, and oh my gosh, just the dynamism of those is just fantastic.
And King Cosmo is just cool.
Yeah, he is absolutely
just a cool character.
Cool character. I love the half-lidded eyes all the time. Perfect. And I also love, and again, one of those things where it is very much a online avatar design, right? It's like this mishmash of different things where, obviously he got that red jacket at some point. Obviously he got that, and he liked the goggles, and whatever. And it kind of throws that. So, a good question, Captain Laser Eyes. How did the real-life Kung Fu translate to typing on a keyboard? It's hinted at the movie that it's more agility training, right? It's getting his fingers used to that. It's getting his body used to being able to move quickly, as opposed to actually using kung fu moves in the game necessarily. But yeah, and then it doesn't work. And I also really appreciate how they show Cosmo here, how he is very much a teenager. How he's just, what is the solution to this? it's to punch him in the face repeatedly.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't work, he gets really pissed off and like bangs the keyboard. Like, yeah.
And yet he still has control because when
He
the
does.
little Chibisques come running in and are like, "What are you doing? Can we play?"
Mm-hmm.
The first time I saw this, I was just like, "Okay, Cosmo's gonna whip around and just like lay him out,
And
and then at the minute he lays him out, he's gonna get bad gonna happen in the game, and yet."
Right.
He's got enough control
Mm-hmm.
and enough obvious experience with these kids like all over everywhere that he just keeps rolling with it. I'm like, cool, okay.
he was probably going, God damn, I'm gonna have to find another room. This freaking castle.
I found this place. It was
me.
my secret place, and now they're here.
This was my happy place.
Little bastards.
Yep.
Oh, I meant to call out to the Morning Glories that are sitting on the porch while he is doing his notations or cracking the code. That I looked that up because I'm like, why was the Morning Glory thing? Morning Glories, sun comes up, Morning Glories are opening, Grandma's tending Morning Glories. I'm like, what is this? And it's like the meaning of Morning Glory and flowers is mortality and love, the essence of life and how short it is. I'm like, wow.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Wow. I did not know that. Yes.
Very good. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
it's
awesome.
what do we know? You see something
Right.
frequently enough, it means something. And I'm like, what is the obsession with Morning Glories? I love them. They grow on the fence out in front of the house, and that's totally cool. But why is it here? This is a very specific reason you've got this here for something.
Yep.
So,
Sure enough.
and there it was.
And and you get the slightly inappropriate moment with Wabasque, and the little girl and what's on your phone, which I did laugh at. I'll admit. What you looking at? Girls with big boobs. As he's looking at a contract,
Yeah.
And then he like flips it. And she's like, ah. But
That's the right you get as an uncle.
right, exactly.
Is
Yeah.
to like say like these terrible like weird things. I think I told you before. My nieces go to Catholic school, and they are they're very good. They don't cuss. They don't have anything else. So I played "You Have to Fight for the Right to Party" by and my sister about killed me. But I'm the uncle. I can do that. It's just fun to do. Like here's something that'll warp your mind. Woohoo!
I have a story from Hayao Miyazaki's most recent book, which we will not get into right now, but perhaps later.
After 10
talks about
o'clock.
that. Oh, and not that bad, but kind of like, wow, they survived that. Great.
Hey Goro, go run in traffic. Sweet.
Kinda.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, then Kenji walks in and he's like, "Boy, I'm glad I dodged that." Oh, they all know.
Yeah.
And of course, Shoto runs in immediately with the wanted poster. I love Shoto because he is the annoying relative. The guy just won't let go. Nobody really likes him, but he's family. What do you do?
And he's so excited to be a police officer.
Exactly.
He's really into it. With his RX-7. Like his full on, like I've never seen an RX-7 kitted out by a police officer like that.
Somebody watched a lot of Initial D as a kid. I think.
Something.
And then this wonderful, very anime moment where everyone crowds in and they're like, we found out you're not actually, from Tokyo U. You're not actually doing all this stuff, and you lied.
And look, you lied.
Yeah, I have the family registry. Wham! Like, how the hell did you get that, lady?
And at which point, if it was me, I probably would have been like, "Oh yeah, talk to her."
Mm-hmm. Which becomes
She's the one who set this
the
up.
next thing, exactly, where they're like, "Oh, okay, this is what happened." All the adults very pissed off at the
Rammed
teenagers.
in.
Yep. And then dealing with the aftermath of all that, and then discovering, and this is where it gets a little creepy, that these are all descriptions of Wabasque, and that Natsuki's had a thing for Wabasque for a very long time. And there's some lines in the movie where it's like, "Oh yeah, and didn't she write that essay in school about my uncle?" He's like, oh.
My uncle and I
my uncle
married
and I,
or something like that, or
it's like,
elementary school. Yeah.
And again, in fairness, in the movie, she's horrified that anyone knows that she, had at any point had any of these feelings. Yeah, she's rather mortified. And then again, I love the consequences where it's like, and then you are clearly a wanted criminal for hacking into this thing. They put cuffs on you and lead you away. Like, that is the thing that happens. She can't just, wish that away.
It's interesting that it must be a Japanese thing, but he's got a rope attached to the cuffs, which I was like, okay. I mean, it makes total sense. You're pulling somebody along, but it's, it's like, wow, any kind of cop dramas you watch, they cuff them and then they, walk behind them and like hold them by the shoulder and kind of hold the handcuffs and kind of move them forward.
Well,
he's like dragging him along the rope. I'm like,
Kenji's clearly a hardened criminal. Who's full of strength and vim and vigor, and is just going to
flight risk.
Right. Yeah.
A flight risk, especially when they're sitting in traffic. It's like I was waiting for him after he makes the observation, like, this isn't a squad car. I'm like, aha, now he's noticed it's like he could probably get out. And I'm waiting for him to be like, ha-ha, and like run down, the field. No, he just sits there.
Yep. But again, I love the pacing of this, and then suddenly the movie stops as he apologizes to the grandmother. And not just apologizes, but says, I really appreciated this time. And kind of unburdens his heart to her. And which is when she realizes.
Again.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. She's like, what's going on here? And she realizes, and it's one of the great things, and it's something that Hosoda is good at, is this idea of characters making bad choices because of their damage, really. Because, he didn't stop anything because he's like, I've never had this experience before, and this is really, this is kind of overwhelming to me. And I'm not used to having family members to actually, not just interact with, but who actually, like, are looking out for other people, right? And it's a sweet moment, I think. But then he, off he goes. And again, great moment, pacing. We cut back to Love Machine, who's still free, who's still doing all the things. And you realize, well, good, you've arrested Kenji. Doesn't stop any of this from happening.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the world moves on.
Right, exactly. And then the moment in the car, just sitting and waiting. And you start seeing all the other members of the family.
But did you see? It's like he just sits there.
Yeah, he just sits there.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like you could jump out. It's not going to get you. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere.
He even says, "Isn't that a green light?"
Right. Yeah.
The guy's just like, "Shut up."
Kenji's a good boy.
Yeah. Well, he also. I mean, he's owned up.
Yeah.
I am the one I cracked the
well,
code.
This is the thing.
It's like, so.
Okay, so like, yeah, exactly. If he jumped out of the car, where's it gonna go? Right.
Nowhere.
Like his face is everywhere. Like people know what's going on. Yeah.
This is what I. Probably the reason why he's staying in the car is because he knows everything is so screwed up with Oz right now, right? So there's all these people who are like going, I can't Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that little jerk. You.
I'm safer in custody than I am outside.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Tinder just went down, and I'm gonna kill you.
And again, pacing, where now you get these scenes with the other members of the family trying to get there, and there's no massive sense of urgency. There's this building sense of dread, of, okay, this facility is having problems. This service is having problems. It's all fixable, but it's mounting and just getting worse and worse and wider spread and wider spread.
One of the things I liked about those scenes that were leading up to the actual, point of it all, was that it was showing why the family is so large and why that's important.
Yeah.
And which involves the grandmother at the pivotal point,
Mm-hmm.
and why she has so much pull, and how connected she is because of the family history, and the inroads and that she has, and all these, and a lot of these, the family ranges from personal businesses like owning a fishing fleet or owning a computer store, or doing contracts like with computers, or being civil servants. Like 3 of them are civil servants, one of them's in the self-defense force. And so you have all these connections that are out there that are encouraged.
Yep.
So that when it happens, once you finally start piecing everything together and things starts going dark, literally, what does she do? What does she do? What does Grandma do? She goes on a rotary phone because honestly, she figures out, oh wow, you're they're not working, are they? So
Yeah, as I say, the landline is the safest option.
So she gets on the phone and she starts doing her thing. She starts using the connections, and she starts going out there cajoling people to tells the family, you're the representative of the family, so you have to be out there. You can't just go, whatever, I'm done.
Yep.
You have to keep going. And so, this is the Genochi family time to shine again, just like we did in 1600.
The Battle of
Ueda. Ueda. The second Battle of Ueda, which we kind of won and lost. But anyway, here you go.
Well, I think isn't this the first point where grandmother starts getting on the phone, Oba-san starts getting on the phone, and you see Love Machine looking through, like, I'm guessing phone logs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And dials in on a symbol that you then see on the back of her kimono, the family crest.
Yep.
So it's like Love Machine, in the process of doing its thing, figures out she's doing something, and it can't get directly to her because it's got a rotary phone, so there's nothing you can really do. But it's now aware of her presence.
And this is one of the things the movie doesn't let on directly, but that it is possible that Love Machine makes the connection later on. That if I shut down this service, she's in the logs for this service for this thing, and now she's out of the picture.
Yeah, because her son has the alarm set on his phone.
Yep.
Oh.
So who knows? But yeah. And then and so we log in. We start resolving things. Things kind of go back to normal. And then we get the food and the baseball game. Even though it was looking bad, we're okay now. It was tough for the Ueda team for a while there, and again, just I love tying that in of just as that ongoing commentary for what's going on. And now you're seeing the extended family. You're seeing more people coming in, seeing all the firefighters there who are just part of the thing, and they're all tanned and handsome and buff, and there we go. And now Kenji is. They're chatting with him as an equal, right? Yeah. Now they're having fun with him. Now it's fine.
Pouring drinks for him, giving him food.
Yeah, exactly. But again, they realize it's not over. And then you get the revelation, and again, love this. And something that Hosoda does a couple times in this movie is we see all of them doing all this, and then the camera pans over to Wabisuke, who's not at the table, and he lets the bomb drop that he built Love Machine. And I love how Hosoda lets this moment ride, both in the terms of timing, but also in the sense that Wabisuke knows that it's not his fault, but he loves the drama of everyone thinking that he's the bad guy. And so he is revealing himself as the bad guy so that, he could say, well, but actually, I sold him off and it's all okay and all that kind of stuff. And in his mind, he thinks that's cool. He thinks, oh man, we're going to run off, there's going to be this big sense of relief. And no. Everyone realizes just how bad it's gotten. And Granny realizes how bad it's gotten. Whereupon
it's Naginata bad.
Yeah. It's Naginata bad, exactly. And she just grabs that. And what's interesting about this too is I am unclear in this scene how, for lack of a better term, how serious she is. I don't think she's actually going to stab Wabasuke, right? That's not her intent. But her intent,
she would have cut him down like easily before this moment.
Right, exactly. So yeah, she is clearly getting his attention.
Yeah.
Which
here's an interesting question for you that maybe you know better than I. Post-war, there was a general turning over of weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a Naginata, and it's obviously it looks a little beat.
Mm-hmm.
It's been there a while.
Mm-hmm.
But would that have been one of the things to be surrendered, or was it only swords?
It was primarily swords.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was more of a symbolic thing because the samurai swords, harken to samurai culture, harkens to
Bushido
Japanese pride and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Naginata is a woman's weapon,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and that's what women were trained on to defend the fortresses when the majority of men were.
So it wasn't considered in the same class for swords.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. And as I understand it, even there, some swords were allowed to be kept because they were just. This is the family sword that we've had since 1638 that no one's used since then,
right.
and you can't even get out of the scabbard, whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's
a shelf sitter. Don't touch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see here, this Naginata, as you mentioned, is old, beat up.
Because he can grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't cut his
Yeah,
whole fingers off.
Yeah.
Which also it looks like it's not covered. Where she pulls it from, that thing's been sitting in this large open house all seasons with a metal blade. It's kind of amazing it's not rust colored.
And again, I think all this is symbolism, right? Here's this the symbol of our family's, power, and it's dull and old and beat up, and it doesn't even do any damage anymore, right? And he can just push it away. And that's really what's going on here. Is
the old reacting to the new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think part of it is that she's disappointed in him for not being the leader of the family that she wanted him.
Absolutely.
And that's why she goes through the whole boyfriend thing,
with Natsuki,
and it's just kind of like, well, who's going to take over the family? Which guy? And you notice that, and there's even the conversation where the women are the strong ones in the family, and then,
right?
Later on, as the men are pulling together to do their part, mustache guy pretty much says, "Yeah, we're pretty much always been to the side, so it's time to step up, for us to be actual men and do something." So I'm gonna crash my boat through.
Yeah, nice koi pond as he dumps it in. You just see them stand there like, what? You see a koi go through the air. I'm like, oh wow. Yeah. And I was looking at that, and he's like, oh, it's a 300-watt generator, and I'm like, no wonder why he brought all the squid. That's a squid boat. Mm-hmm. Those are lights for squid fishing.
Squid boat.
Yep.
And I'm like, and that now makes total sense why he's like, open the top package, squid. Oh, that's delicious. That looks great. Second package. Oh, more squid. That's still great. Third package. More squid?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Like, I got you now.
And it's so interesting to me, too, how with this scene, Kenji tries to reach out to Natsuki, and again, I appreciate that Natsuki doesn't scream at him or anything. She's just like, you are too much right now. Please just, not right now. And it's very much, okay, understood, fine.
It's kind of a very mature response.
Absolutely.
Where you could have made it much, much more dramatic for film purposes versus making it much more a genuine human response.
Yeah, very realistic. Kind of appreciate. And then Grandma beckons from the because she heard it all. Because she always hears it all. And so
there's no walls in this house. You hear everything. Everything's sliding screen. You hear everything.
Yeah. And so she invites him to play a game. And again, symbolism, right? This is the family's game. And so now he's being invited into the family game. Yeah. But she is also clearly like getting a sense of him really now. And
is that a shogi board?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or a Go board, probably.
Well, she was playing. Yeah, she was playing Go at one point.
Yeah,
you saw her sitting and she
definitely a Go board. Okay. And there's Go pieces. Yeah.
No, Steve, that thing's haunted. It's telling you to go. Get out.
Sorry,
Brent.
For those
off topic. Sorry.
For those of you who've seen The Play That Goes Wrong, you know why I'm laughing right now. We'll get back to that later. Yeah, and again, quiet scene, simple scene, just conversation. It's also interesting to me. One of the things that kind of separates Hosoda from a lot of other anime directors is he doesn't go in for really complicated shots. A lot of his shots are just, close-ups of characters. Very, very straightforward stuff. But because of how he's pacing things, because you're not staying with these characters for long periods of time, it works. A friend of mine was talking about the Cats movie. The horrible CGI Cats movie.
Okay, yes.
The CGI, the live action movie.
Yeah. I was thinking Cat Returns. I'm no. Something wrong with that?
And he said one of the problems is when they do Memories, the song Memories in that movie, they just zoom in on the singer's face for 3.5 minutes. Ooh. And she's just singing her heart out, and it's like it's really hard to be that engaged with a really maudlin song for that long, and just focus and then of course you're looking at all the CGI the entire time but again, because of how this is moving, it doesn't feel it doesn't feel static. It feels dynamic.
So when they start playing the game and she makes the bet with him, that was when I had a silent voice moment. I'm like, oh yeah. This is the trope. Okay, here we are. This is what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen.
Well, and when she says, you're gonna take care of Natsuki, it's like, ooh.
She's feeling it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the woman's 90. I mean,
yeah, true. And again, one of these you get pacing. He goes to sleep. And he wakes up, and he's not sure why he wakes up because it's still night out, but the dog's barking. But the dog always barks. But something's wrong. And again, the pacing of this whole thing is just wonderful in that there's no external sign, but something's wrong, and then you cut to this shot, and I'm gonna get weepy here, of the entire family crowded around, Grandma's bed. And they come in, and they're doing what they can, and it's not working. And the movie just lets it lie. And you get one of the most gorgeous sunrises in anime.
Yeah.
Remember somebody saying about 9/11 that one of the hardest things about 9/11 is on such a beautiful day. And there's no sympathetic, thunderstorm happening at the time. No, it's just a beautiful day. And we get the revelation about the heart monitor that he had it on his phone and it didn't go off, so he didn't know. But, and again, I appreciate that he says, but it could have been just her time, right? Like, I could have just not gotten the alert. She could have just slipped away. Who knows? And then we get one of my favorite shots in all of anime. Panning across the family.
Yeah. And that is a long pan.
It is a long pan. Everyone's almost in shadow.
Yeah.
There's just enough to differentiate everyone and not make it like too artsy. I love the little girl who's just like beating against her mom and then just kind of collapses against her. And everyone's just dealing with it the best they can. Kazuma's got his back to his mother, and she's crying, and they're just kind of processing. And we go across the morning glories, and then we get to Genji and Natsuki. Separated, you know. And what do? You know, how do you help somebody in this moment? How do you process it? And we get the hands. I've talked before about this animator who's just so good at 3D, you know, moving things together. And I believe this is one of his shots, where just the ability to see these two hands interlace in this very complicated way is just a masterclass in animation. And how it's just them sharing the moment. And there's nothing else to do. You just share the pain and do what you can. Yeah, and the clouds. Thank you, Lachonsky. Absolutely the clouds. They do a thing in this movie, just from a pure technical animation perspective. They apply morph effects to the clouds just slightly. So the clouds are constantly moving, and they're constantly just slightly shifting in their style, basically. So there's constantly a slight just shift to them, as clouds are, and it's just enough to give it that extra little of detail. Yeah, and then we move on from there as everyone's kind of processing it. And again, I'm you get that thing. Okay, we have a busy day today because we have a funeral to prepare. And yep, that's what you got to do.
And everybody breaks into their work groups.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Leading to the argument, about what do we do about Love Machine, and the as you mentioned, John, kind of the men decide, okay, we got to do something. As you also pointed out, in traditional Japanese culture, the women take care of funerals. That is a sort of common thing, is that women are expected to kind of take care of all of those arrangements. So the men kind of don't have a lot to do. And so you see them, start to deal with all that stuff. And you get this.
It's an interesting. This is like the full day. Day. Now it's not the morning anymore. It's the full day, and everybody's task oriented. Oh my gosh, the buns. We can't have birthday buns anymore. Ordered a funeral buns.
Yeah,
and it's just like, wow, y'all are like processing really quick.
Yeah.
Your matriarch, your leader of your clan, has just passed away, and you guys are already locked into like changing all this stuff around and making all these arrangements. It's like,
yeah.
Wow.
And again, I think that's him very much communicating that grandma isn't the only one. She's passed that down to her children. Yeah. They can pull together in a crisis. And it's a good sort of throw forward to later on in the movie, where you realize, oh, they can do this, right? They do have the capacity.
Right.
And so you start building up to the thing, and you get the computer. The Tron computer shows up. And I love just the styrofoam.
I thought you just sold computers. Oh no, that's just brick and mortar. This is my real job. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just got a supercomputer from CERN laying around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, then his self-defense force guy shows up with this thing.
Classified antenna array.
It's classified, and you're just like, what?
Oh,
and then the only normal thing that really happens is mustache guy crashing into the boat.
And they have a thing where they hate that poor forklift.
They sure do.
Knocking the forklift over. Like, why do you hate the forklift?
I love a few things. To your point, there we go. The water slashes. Koi just.
Yeah. The Koi's probably like 80 years old. Like, what are you doing? Koi's probably a national treasure.
Yeah, probably. And again, that moment where, what is it again that you do in the self-defense forces?
That's classified.
That's about it. Yeah.
Okay. But you're absolutely right, Ginger, that this is very much that everyone using that task-oriented nature to process a distraction, to kind of, okay, we don't have to deal with that at the moment. We can just kind of do these things right now to kind of move through the grief. The new leader of the family, I think, is Grandma's daughter. The matriarch. She's
the one that Kenji, when he initially got there, was like, "Happy birthday on your 90th birthday," and she's like, I was like, "Oh Lord, dude, no, just shut up, kid, just shut up." Oh my God, she doesn't look 90.
Mm-hmm. What's also clever, I think, about this sequence is that as we're building up to this, big fight against Love Machine and this idea that we're going to trap Love Machine in the same way they did, you're far enough into the movie to think this might be the climax. If you're not paying attention to the progress bar, you'll be like, oh, we've been going for a while, good, this might be the climax. No. But
this is beginning of hour two.
The climatic action against Love Machine. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not after 10, so I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
Well.
But I do love the Tai Chi out in the yard with Uncle Fisherman, because it's like, wow, he's the sensei.
Yeah,
really?
I thought he was just the squid fisherman.
No. Well, and again, these large extended families, and this is where we learned that Cosmo was badly bullied as a younger kid, and larger family, somebody makes the connection, Mustache Fisher guy is like, oh, you're being bullied. I can fix that. Come with me for now.
Shaolin Kung Fu.
Right, exactly. And he may not be the best person for it, but he's the guy who's there, who takes the interest and does what needs to be done, to make sure that
well, Cosmo, we've seen through King Cosmo just kicks ass.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, he is taking lessons well.
Mm-hmm. Unlike Kenji's Happy Tree Friends avatar.
Gets totally stomped.
Also, full props to the animators. It is not easy to animate two characters frame by frame that are moving the same way. That are, these are not two, 14-year-old girl idol characters. Very different body types, and so having them move through all that and seem synchronized is well done. And they face off against Love Machine, and again, they have this whole thing of capturing him, which works for a while. But the point of this scene, I think, is to show you everyone coming together, right? That when the chips are down, the family does do what they need to do to fight him off. Until Shota decides to move all the ice out of the server room.
How did he not get the memo?
I know. Well, again, probably,
he
no
is
one wants
who
to talk
he
to
is.
Shota.
Yeah, I was to say. He's a special kind of fella. His heart is in the right place, but wow, his head is nowhere near where this needs to go.
But
I love when they were having the problems with containment, and they're like, "What's going on with the server?" They pull the panel off, and it's like a jet engine. I'm like, wow, yeah. I mean, you don't have air conditioning in this traditional house, so how do you cool down like industrial grade stuff without like a cold room?
Yep.
Like the ice was a good idea, but even that you're going to be melting at like a fantastic pace.
Yeah, I've been in data centers. They can get hot if you're not careful. Oh, it's just a hilarious moment.
And it's sitting on the tatami. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's like the whole damn house on fire.
And then Cosmo does a very 13-year-old kid. I forget what his age is. 13-year-old kid thing. Action, which is, I'm gonna beat him. There's still a chance. Very Shonen hero. Monkey D. Luffy goes charging in. And no, it doesn't work out that way. The countdown begins. And all these little hints about the satellite start all coming together.
Yeah. Their constant coverage starts to now make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, shut up about the satellite. Who cares about the satellite?
Oh, it's gonna do what?
Yep.
Oh,
It's gonna do the
Earth.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
to the castle,
Mm-hmm.
to the Chiba dog.
Well,
Right.
and at this point, it's just nuclear sites. At this point, it's going to drop somewhere, probably on a nuclear site. It's going to be devastation. We don't know exactly where yet. And it's bad. And this is where King Kazuma gets eaten. And you come back to the family, all spread out against the clouds, as things are bad. And this is where Steve, your point is Kenji suddenly is in the movie again.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back, buddy. Come
on. And
well, also the part we missed was when Cosmo punches his uncle.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, thank you. Somebody was, we were all kind of waiting for somebody to take a pop at him. Go Cosmo.
And like none of the adults reprimand him for that.
No. I mean, the feeling in that room, if you're going to read the room, he is lucky that Uncle Fisherman didn't wail on him Shaolin style. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everybody was fairly not happy with him.
That was. There we go. Dude. And to your point, John, what happens here that's interesting about Kenji is that his reaction is very solution focused. It's okay. There's a problem, but we can do a thing. I know there's a thing we can do, and he's not really reading the room. He's not paying attention to that, but he knows how important this is, and so he's trying to figure out something to do. And so Natsuki calls Wabasuke. And again, pacing. And also use of camera. How the camera is panning down, and here's where Hosoda inverts anime tropes in a wonderful way, which he's been doing throughout the movie. Where Wabasuke's in the car with his eyes blocked. Which is the classic anime trope of somebody who's hiding their emotions. Right? And he's just listening to this conversation, and then she drops the fact that Grandmom's dead. And so we pan up, and we see his reaction. And for the first time, he has no words. And he's done, and he's out of it. And we see all the people going back and forth, behind him. And we see the older lady and the boy. And what I love is it's clearly not them, right? It's not them, but it's them.
Yeah. It symbolizes him and her when he was a little boy brought into the family.
And here's where we find out about all of it. And then, and I love again, as Natsuki is reading the letter, we see his sports car just peel out, and just off he's going. And we get this again pacing, where she's reading this long letter about Wabasuke, and we get this huge long shot of just, the two of them.
Morning glories.
And realizing, holy crap, Wabasuke's been through a lot. And no wonder he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. No wonder he feels not part of the family, because he's not. At a fundamental level, he's an outsider.
Well, he is the child of the indiscretion of the grandfather of the father.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is a lot of credit to the grandmother that she, you don't hear any indications that she treated him poorly. She is only indicating that she welcomed him in or brought him in. And you see these scenes where it's obviously she treated him like a child, not like a foreign object. So, you know what I mean? It's like, for Webisque's problematic origins, you know, he at least got somebody who was there to be with him in his journey into human adulthood.
Yeah, as far as we can tell, he had all the, you know, all the best experiences there. But there's clearly still that, you know, that's still in the back of the mind. And when you think this would have been like the mid '80s when this happened, you know, to him.
Yeah. So this isn't like the 1930s.
No.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, and of course everyone's you know, crying. Whereupon, the he's back. He definitely comes back.
After destroying the car, after hitting the forklift.
Forklift's having a bad day.
He is just having a hard time.
Yeah. Well, Tokyo Tower is the most anime. The forklift is to this movie.
Yeah.
And he comes in and again I love this idea that then the family comes around, and what's interesting here is now they're in a circle. When they all have this kind of last meal kind of there's this equality around the table of they're all now on the same page, they're all now aligned, and they're all, okay, what do we do? What's the next step?
Well, they don't have their leader to sit at the head of the table and direct.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Wabasuke looked high out of his mind when he got out of the car. It's very true. And the thing is that he cannot imagine life without Granny.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. And so folks start making their plan, and they do it through Koi Koi. And we build up to this climax. And here's where we get the slightly absurd anime climax, I will completely admit, where they challenge him to this. But again, I like the fact that this is built up to in the movie, but the fact that this is an AI that is built around gamification, basically, around this idea of essentially like gambling and sport and so forth. And so there is a certain, you know, sensibility to all of this thing. You can, you know, lay a bet in front of it, and there is a chance it would go, oh yeah, that's what I'm programmed to do. And so
which if it didn't, this whole plan would have gone right down the toilet.
And you're screwed.
Yeah.
And the movie ends.
Okay, make the bet. It didn't take it. Okay, we're dead.
And then you
Run.
Yes.
There ain't no running.
And then you have the Digimon R War game plot twist. So this is one of the things that happened in the Digimon movie that they just kind of, oh great, lift that, drop it back down.
I liked the little forest spirit that showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, wait a minute.
Hey, goodbye.
Yeah. But yeah, and all these folks. John Wright, you're absolutely right. I think War Games is definitely a bit of an inspiration for this movie. Shall we play a game?
Let's play Global Thermonuclear War.
How about a nice game of chess? And so they play the game. And this is the point at which Summer Wars broke Twitter. So not a lot of folks know this these days. When Summer Wars...
By the way, the two whales are John and Yoko.
Yeah, John and Yoko. You're right.
Yoko.
John Lennon and Yoko Ono. I'm like,
oh my God, I did the biggest eye roll when I saw that. I was just like,
which again, programmer joke, right? Like,
yeah.
Of course, somebody just threw that in there. When Summer Wars first aired on television, all the otaku got together and decided when Natsuki says "koi koi" at the end, let's all tweet "koi koi." And this was 2010 or something.
Okay.
Twitter was not what it is now. And they overloaded Twitter and broke Twitter for like 3 hours.
Awesome.
When this came out. So yeah, Summer Wars broke Twitter.
Nice.
That kind of became a tradition. Castle in the Sky did the same thing. They broke Twitter when that came out. But yes, and they managed to defeat Love Machine. Kinda. Sorta. In a way. But at least behind the present. And this is where, again, I think where the movie starts to, this is where Kenji comes into his own. This is where all the stuff we've seen building up allows Kenji to act on his own. And I appreciate the irony where he's like, no, you leave. I'm staying here to solve this problem. I'm not asking any of you to stay here and help me with this. But they do because it's who they are.
Right.
And so yeah, and so we have the whole big ending, complete with poor Kenji.
He starts going mad.
He goes.
He's like he's like doing it, and his eyes are doing the whole thing.
Yeah, they're like going different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, well, and there's a point at which he gets a nosebleed.
Yeah.
Like that's not good. And the thing about that is, and again, movie thing. How do you raise the stakes? This is how you do it, by the fact that he's got to do this in his head now. And that is bad.
He's overheating his supercomputer.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Mm-hmm. And it's great raising the stakes, right? Like, that's what you have to do in the moment to take care of this. And he does. He manages to make it just enough to crash it off in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it blew up the front gate.
Right. There's a great line there somewhere, and I forget the exact line. One of the kids goes, "Is it going to destroy the house?" And he's like, "That's probably the best case scenario, honey."
Yeah.
Well,
still, that front gate was 500 years old. Replacing that,
yeah, no, it's bad.
Those little insurance tags on that front door there, right there.
Yep.
Phone call, get on the rotary phone. Hi, indemnity insurance. Did you cover satellites in that? This policy was written in 1910. They didn't have satellites.
Yeah. Speaking of so Captain Laser Eyes, it was not a nuke; it was just a large object that hit them at high speed. The idea was that originally the satellite was going to hit a nuclear facility and cause a nuclear explosion. But this was just, a very big thing moving very, very fast, a rod from God, as it is often called in science fiction.
Well, isn't that, they said that it was a solar particle collector mission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that the satellite was supposed to drop this pod thing that was going to be returned to Earth and studied. So it's obviously aerodynamically set up to be able to re-enter, and it unfortunately just means it's a really heavy rod from God.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so we get our ending with Granny's portrait surrounded by the morning glories, and the surprisingly happy ending as everyone's running around during the funeral. Attended to by everyone in Japan.
Yeah.
I swore when I watched this the first time, there was some reference to the Prime Minister showed up.
Oh, wow.
But I did not see it in this, and I've not seen any other reference to it, so I'm like, I just think I just made that up. Somewhere in my mind, it's like, she's so important, the Prime Minister showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they sing the happy birthday at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And they do all that, and like it was kind of weird for me watching this for the first time when the mourners who are dressed in black actually showed up for the funeral. They really do look confused.
Yeah, they do.
They're like, wait a minute, this was an important woman from a really old family that fought for the Toyotomas during Sekigahara, and wait, what the hell is going on here? Why is there a crater by a gate?
Kids are crazy.
Why is there a boat in this koi pond? Who's not help? Why is no one helping that koi over there? What's going on here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of the fun things about the movie is that they're just, sitting there doing their thing, because that's kind of what this family does. They just do their thing. Yeah, and then you get all the characters showing up. You get Kazuma's father showing up, which is rather nice. And the kind of the final.
Of course, more squid on the grill.
More squid on the grill. Yep.
Squid on the babby.
You get a moment from CNN reporting on what's going on, and it's literally CNN. Like it's the CNN logo on there, so I'm assuming some cash changed hands. But for those curious, that's Wabasuke turns himself in, so he's clearly going to jail and all that kind of good stuff. And then we get the absurd anime ending of the two of them being pushed together, and the kiss, which is just, again, from movie perspective, like, it's a great.
As it was happening, I was like, dude, you're gonna miss. You're gonna miss. And he's like going, oh my god, what?
Yeah.
Are you 8? What's going on here?
You just avoided being crushed to death by an orbital object, and you can't even kiss a girl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very much a thing.
Yeah.
And then the final shot of her portrait, and she's laughing now.
Which it's not a complaint, but I think it's an unnecessary thing. Is when they would present her like being serious, you never saw like her teeth. When you saw her being a little more mirthful, you got the like tropey old woman teeth, two old women teeth, like that picture. And I'm like, it doesn't detract from the film, but at the same time, I'm like, why did you even bother going there?
Yeah,
I mean,
I liked it because it kind of defangs her, right? It makes her more of just a normal old woman, right? Just it makes her feel just like any average old woman character in anime, which she's not.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like it makes me feel like she's like the old baba. You know what I mean? The old hag,
right?
Who's kind of goofy, kind of funny, and has 2 teeth. And it's like, no, she was much more than that.
She was. Well, and I think that's kind of the point, is that we have a lot of relatives that we treat that way.
Right.
Right. And and I also appreciate the fact that it's cool how kind of youthful she looks.
Yes.
That she doesn't present as 89, if you will. In fact, a couple of people mentioned that throughout the film.
Yeah, she's not like hunched over and
prone like.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Shriveled, if you will.
Yeah. And you get all the animators' favorite moments from the movie, including, in case anyone didn't notice, there's some news footage in the end credits. There's some new stuff in the end credits.
I missed it.
See, they're holding hands. Ooh. Yeah. So they progress a little bit in that end credits sequence. They kind of moved along a little bit, which I kind of nice. Yeah, and then that is the end of Summer Wars.
And there it was.
But yeah, it's again for the second feature-length movie in a person's career.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Especially given the fact.
Wish I could have that kind of luck.
Right, exactly. It's not again. It's not a One Piece movie. It's no, there's no franchise connected to it. It's completely just this thing put together. Very impressive. All the stuff in there. Couple questions from the chat. I never understood the anime nosebleed thing. That does a thing that does happen to people, but it's very much exaggerated for comic effect in anime.
Yes.
Not really a thing. Yes, Shota does get a very Beavis look at times in the movie.
Yeah, it does.
As
fire.
Are you threatening me?
So there are 2 things about that, John, about old women in anime getting so short. You see that with old men too. One is that does happen. People can lose height in old age, but also from over the course of the 20th century, every generation of Japanese, every Japanese generation gained like 4 inches in height because of nutrition.
Dang.
Yeah, and it is a clear like medical physical thing. You can see them getting in general. Yeah, that's it. So old people in Japan tend to be just physically shorter than a teenager. A full foot. I don't. Well, my great grandmother got pretty short. Especially as she hunched over. It's probably anime exaggerating to an extent, but yeah.
Well, I mean, I can think of people's grandmothers when I was a kid. I met them, and I cannot think of any grandmother that was taller than like 5'2".
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that would cover grandparents back to like the early part of their birth was the early part of the 20th century, and so they were shorter in general, and so I can see that.
Yeah.
A full foot.
Yeah.
Over 200 years, maybe.
True. But
of course, that means everybody 200 years ago was like 4'3".
Well, and this is one of the interesting things is that
damn little ankle biters.
Yeah. So, not about Summer Wars, but we'll bring it all back, I guess. There is a trope that people in the past were much shorter. They weren't. Houses were smaller. Because you didn't want to heat a giant house, so you kept your doors small. So things generally were not sort of human sized in that sense. But like specifically in the case of like Japan and certain other countries, there has been a marked nutrition change that caused a significant thing over time. But one of those things. But anime absolutely does this thing where grand people are like 3 feet tall. It's like, okay, that's maybe a little bit over indexed, if you will. Yeah, Napoleon was not short. He was not short at all. That was a thing invented by English newspapers.
Propaganda,
absolutely. Thankfully, we don't have that anymore. But any other thoughts on Summer Wars before we move on?
Just for me being the history geek, it was just kind of fun, just kind of looking it up and just looking behind the story of the fictional Genosha clan, which was, somebody had a question down in chat land about it, if these clans were actually real in Japan, and they were, except not the Genosha clan. It was actually based off one I read, the Sonata clan. And the battle that they're talking about is the Second Battle of Ueda. And which
makes sense for their son to be playing on the Ueda high school.
Right.
Nice.
So when they're talking about the battle and they're coming up with the game plan to go up against Love Machine, and the guy and mustache guy goes off and talks about the garrison attack, and then we see when we saw the very beginning of the movie, like topographical landscape of the castle and all that.
Yeah.
That isn't actually what happened. So when Hideata Tokugawa went to invade the Sonata clan prior to the Battle of Sekigahara, they actually went against that garrison, but because of the way that the land was built and the castles around it, they could only maneuver. So it was 38,000 men against 3,500 men, not 2,000, but
wow.
They lost the battle because they couldn't maneuver all those men into such a small area. And they actually, in the battle, as the guy was describing in the anime, let them in and then close the doors, boom, 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 open up the doors, let them in, boom, 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 and killed a whole bunch of them. And
you'd think somebody would have figured that out, be like, wait a minute, they opened it up and everybody died.
Right.
Let's go in again.
Well,
no.
No, well, see, this is the hubris of it. Hideata Tokugawa was the son of Ieyasu, who was leading the battle, who was actually at that point marching towards Sekigahara at that point. And Hideata was supposed to meet him up there. Well, they came across the Sonata clan, who, by the way, played both sides.
Yeah.
They kept
the father and one of the sons stayed at the castle to fight Hideata. And the other son joined Ieyasu to fight against Toyotomi.
Interesting.
So, and the reason why they did that was so that whoever survived would be able to keep the family, would be able to keep the land and still be the Daimyo of the land. So it was kind of neat, just kind of going,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's
That is
who
cool.
they're supposed to be. The Genoshis are supposed to be the Sonata clan,
Yeah.
and all of this. So it was kind of neat. All right, that was my little geek
Yeah,
thing.
that's cool. And Ueda is a real place, by the way. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a real town. It's all based on that town. Which is also cool. But yeah.
My second time through, and I just enjoyed the ride the first time when Phil and I watched it several years ago. And then this time it was just like, yeah, it was a nice film. I would think a second time through that, given the pacing, I would have been like, okay, skip that. I already know what's going to happen here. I can just move a little forward. No, I actually was engaged enough the entire way the second time through to be like, I just like this film. It's just a nice film to watch.
It's charming.
I can tell you that it was good enough or put well put together, because I was exhausted watching this movie from having worked a 12-hour shift.
Yeah.
Throwing liquor around and doing my job, and then coming home and going, I got a lot of shit today. Watching it and able to like stay awake and
be focused
and go along with it. And then I was like, wow, this is really great. And did my little historical thing. And I was like, oh yeah, this is great. 9:30 p.m.
Yeah. I hear that. And
Colin,
it
was really well done.
Yeah. And Colin, I'm with you. There's this interesting sort of low shading, sort of slightly flat look to Hosoda's movies, which I think works really well. Especially with Yoshiki Sadamoto's character designs, who did Evangelion. He designed the characters for this film and most of Hosoda's stuff. I think the combination of those two are really effective. Yeah, just it works. Cool.
Summer Wars.
Yeah, Summer Wars. Thumbs up. All right, we'll be back in just a few minutes with some anime news and information and stuff going on. So we'll be back in just a few minutes.